नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, Hare Krishna everybody, welcome you all. So today whose prayers are we studying? Any idea?
Vritrasura Mataji.
Yeah,
Demon
Vritrasura. So what is the specialty of Vritrasura? Any idea?
He was very strong and he used to, even demigods used to be afraid of him.
Hmm.
And
So who is
they
he?
fought.
Vritrasura born from Yagna Tvasta.
Yeah, so he's an Asura, right? So have
Yes,
you
he
heard
is.
anywhere Asura offering prayers to the Lord?
His main aim to revenge Indra.
Hmm. So the specialty of Vritrasura is that a demon who is offering prayers to the Lord, right? Can you find any example where a demon is offering prayers to the Lord?
Prahlada, Bhakta Prahlada.
No, he is not a demon. He's just born in a demoniac family. Any examples? Any demon who is offering prayers to the Lord? No example, no? That is the specialty of Dhritarashtra. He is one and only, right? There's no example of a demon offering prayers to the Lord, right? We have an animal offering prayers to the Lord, Gajendra, right? We have devotees born in demoniac families and offering prayers to the Lord, like Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj. But we do not have a demon, outright demon, offering prayers to the Lord. Right? So that is a specialty. He is just one and only Vritrasur, and such a pure devotee who, even after accepting a demoniac body, he never forgot devotional service to the Lord. Right? Only when we are strongly situated, no, in devotional service, no matter what happens in our life, we will never forget God. Whatever happens, we will run back to the Lord, right? Because we don't know anything other than the Lord. That is a pure devotee stage. Attaining that should be our goal. Right? A pure devotee, whatever he gets, whatever he does, ultimately what he wants is the Lord. Right? So everything becomes very indifferent for him, whether he gets profit or loss. He'll be like, profit I got, it's okay. Loss I got, it's okay. Right? Because what he wants is Krishna. So that is what we will be learning today, prayers by Vritrasur. We will be learning completely about the background of Vritrasur. Okay, who is he actually, and what made him become a demon? Why is he offering prayers even in a demoniac body? Right, it's quite interesting, very very inspiring. And from next class we will learn the prayers. Only 4 prayers. Can you imagine? I mean 4 verses. Right, shortest prayer but very very powerful in the entire Bhagavatam. Although the prayers are very short, but it's very powerful. Right, so and very pure. Right, so each class we will complete 1 verse. Right, so including today 5 classes will finish, and then we'll move to the next. Okay, so now to start a little about Vritrasur. So who is Vritrasur? Anyone? I mean, who is he actually in his previous birth?
Chitraketu,
Chitraketu.
cursed by Parvati Maya.
Yeah, so he's Chitraketu Maharaj. What is his lamentation all about? Why is he lamenting?
He's not able to serve the Lord.
No? You can see in the picture. Anyone? Okay, so basically Chitraketu was a... yes?
He
His
got the blessing
son
of
died as soon as he was born.
Yeah.
He didn't have children for a long time, and finally he got one, and the other wives poisoned his
Yeah.
son.
So the basic reason for lamentation is he was a king, a great king in Surasena's dynasty, but he never had a son. Son is very important, no, for a king because he should become his successor, so that the king can leave the kingdom responsibilities to the son, and he can go and perform all Ashtanga yoga and everything in the forest and go back home, back to Godhead. No, if a son is not there, then it's very difficult for a king to manage those days. So, he never had a king, as Mataji said. He had some millions of wives, not one wife. Can you imagine? Because he never got a son, he kept marrying different wives, and nobody could give him a son. Can you imagine? Nobody could give him a son. And then what happened? Angira Muni comes once to his kingdom to ask him how he is doing and how is everything going. Then he says, oh no, although everything is fine, I don't actually, he was lamenting a lot. So Angira Muni says, everything is going on so well. All demigods are blessing your kingdom. You're such a pious king, such a, good-hearted king. What is there for you to lament? Why are you crying? Why are you looking so upset and all that? So he says, I don't have a son. What do I do? Right? And then Angira Muni says, okay. Angira is not an ordinary Muni, no? He is also Devarshi. He is a very great saint. So what he says, in your fate, there is no son. Okay, he says, in your fate, there is no son. But since you're crying so much, you're lamenting, a son is a very, very much necessary for you as a king. I will perform a yajna and I will give you the son, okay, the benediction. So what Angira Muni will do, he will perform a great fire sacrifice, and then sweet rice will be offered for the fire sacrifice. Then the remnants of that sweet rice, no, the prasadam will be given to the first wife of Chitraketu. Okay, who is the first wife? Any idea? What's her name? No idea? Kritadyuti, right? Her name is Kritadyuti. And out of 10 million wives, right? He's married 10 million wives he'll marry. And the Angira Rishi will say, feed this only to your first wife, right? Kritadyuti. So she will be fed that prasadam, sweet rice, and then she will become pregnant. Then she will give birth to a son. Then Angira Muni will say, this son will give you the greatest joy, and at the same time, he will give you the greatest pain also. Okay, listen very carefully. He will give you the greatest joy and he will give you the greatest pain also. So, what Chitraketu Maharaj does, he will name his son Harsha Shok. Harsha means joy, no? Shoka means pain, distress. So he will name both 50-50. So Harsha Shok, he'll name his son. And then, now you tell me, what is the greatest joy that the son is giving and what is the greatest pain that he's going to give? Anyone?
His birth would be the greatest joy, probably.
Very nice, yeah.
The pain would be, he must be demonic.
No?
Or he died early.
So, that,
maybe early death.
yeah. The pain is untimely death, right? He was so young, I think some weeks or days since his birth. And what does, how does he die?
Through poisoning by the other wives.
Wife.
Yeah, very nice. So what happens, because Kritadyuti gave him the son, Chitraketu Maharaj gets so close to Kritadyuti, neglects all the other wives, right? So then Kritadyuti will be getting all the facilities and love of her husband and everything. But all the other wives start getting jealous, right? They become so envious that they, so they give him poison. They feed him poison, and then what will happen? He will die. No, so they start crying. They lament so much that Chitraketu Maharaj was in a condition to give up his own body. Right, that much he cries and laments because. So after so much of tapasya, I mean the fire sacrifice and years of wait and everything, he got a son, but he died. No, the purpose of getting a son was to give him the kingdom and go to pursue Krishna consciousness. No, that is also not there now. No son, how will he rule now? right? Nothing. So he was very upset, and then that time Angira Muni will come along with Narada Muni. And then what will happen? Anyone?
His son will be brought back for a day or so and then be taken back.
Yeah, so Narada Muni is so powerful, no? He is, in fact, very, very powerful. So he brings the soul back into the child's body, and the child starts to speak. Then Narada Muni says, "This is an untimely death. I have anyway put you back into your body. You can continue your life. You can live as a king, rule, so many friends, relatives, your father, mother, everybody is there. You can live your life. But then and then he also says, see, your mother and father are crying because you left the body. Then that child starts speaking like an adult and says, which mother, father? Can you imagine? So he says, which mother, father? Then the child says, I was first into all the species. The child starts to explain all the 84 lakh species and says, every soul, is going to leave the body at the time of death and transmigrates into another body. Right? So which mother and father of which janma? I don't have a mother and father, right? I don't have a material mother and father because I'm not a material body. I'm a soul who is just transmigrating from one body to another in this 84 lakh species of life. So if you're talking about mother and fathers, be specific which mother and father, right? Can you imagine? Then Chitraketu Maharaj will be shocked. He is thinking he is the only father. No, he'll be shocked. He's like, which mother and father? And then he'll ask Narada Muni, what is he saying? What, which mother and father? Then Narada Muni starts to explain the entire Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga to him, right? What a soul does, who the soul belongs to, transmigration, death, subtle body, gross body, the way the soul is carried through the desires, right? Karma and desires. Based on that, the next life is prepared. Everything Narada Muni explains. And then Chitraketu Maharaj gets that enlightenment, right? So he's now gotten the knowledge, no, Vedic knowledge. So then Chitraketu Maharaj surrenders to Narada Muni completely and asks for the path of liberation, going back home, back to Godhead, right? And Narada Muni explains to him one mantra, right? Yeah, see here, Narada Muni and Angira Muni comes and brings the soul back into the child's body, and the child sits down and starts to speak. And the moment the child says, what mother and father, everybody will be shocked. Even the wives, no, other wives who poisoned him, they also listen to Narada Muni's Bhagavatam Upadesh. They also change. All their sins also gets crushed because there is a transformation of the heart, right? And then what happens? Narada Muni gives Chitraketu Maharaj one mantra. Okay, let me share that screen. Yeah, this mantra he gives. Okay, Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumna Niruddhaya Namah Sankarshanaya Cha Namo Vijnana Matraya Paramananda Murtaye Atma Ramaya Shantaya Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaye. This is the mantra that Narad Muni gives to Chitraketu Maharaj. He listens to it and he chants the mantra. He takes severe austerity. He leaves the palace, right? He stops eating. He only drinks water. And every day, every night, he chants this mantra. And because he's, trying to chant and please the Lord, he gets he leaves the body and gets a better body. What is that body that Chitraketu Maharaj gets? Which is the next body he gets?
A demon's body.
No. God is pleased, no? Krishna is so pleased with his chanting, and that's why he awards him a particular kind of body. What is that?
Spiritual one.
Sorry? No? If he's getting a spiritual body,
Devotee. Either it can be devotee's body or
no.
rich.
The Gandharva's body, right? He becomes
Kandar. Okay.
Gandharva, he's called Vidyadhara, right? So he becomes the king of the Gandharvas, all Gandharvas, no? The big planet of Gandharva planet, he becomes the king of it, the Vidyadhara. And then what happens? He can you see this big aeroplane? So he starts to travel around wherever he wants, he can travel, right? So what, after getting that Gandharva's body, right, the Vidyadhara, the king of the entire Gandharva planet, even after getting that body, he continues to chant the mantra Narad Muni has given him, right? And then what happens? Ananta Shesh will come in front of him. Can you imagine? Ananta Shesh comes, and that is Ananta Shesh, we all know Ananta Dev, right? And that's Balramji. So he comes in the form of Ananta Shesh, and he starts offering prayers to Ananta Shesh, right? And again, Ananta Shesh will be so pleased, and gives him guidance, shows him the direction of life, and then and he shows him a particular direction to travel in, right? And then this Gandharva, right, Vidyadhara, Chitraketu in a Vidyadhara's body, he starts to travel in that direction. When he travels in that direction, he sees Shiva and Parvati along with so many other great personalities, devotees sitting there, and having Bhagavatam discourse, right? They are having a sadhu sangha. And what is Parvati Devi doing here? Any idea?
Sitting on Shiva's lap. Srila. Hare Krishna.
On the lap of the Lord, I mean Lord Shiva, right? She'll be sitting on the lap of Lord Shiva, and Bhagavatam will be still going on. So, what Chitraketu Maharaj does? Anyone?
Laughs. He feels laughs.
Laughs and does what?
Right.
Laughs and comments. Yeah, Archana Mataji.
He criticizes Mataji during Srimad Bhagavatam. How can you sit like this? Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
so he says in a very sarcastic manner, he criticizes Lord Shiva. He says, it's so wonderful that you're taking Bhagavatam classes, but at the same time, Parvati Mata is sitting on your lap, right? And Bhagavatam is happening, but she is sitting on your lap in a way, in a very sarcastic, criticizing way. Shiva, being a great devotee of the Lord, knows who is Chitraketu Maharaj. Chitraketu Maharaj is also great devotee, right? He's a pure devotee, where even Balram is pleased with him, right? And he's got such a great body also as an award. But um, uh, Shiva accepts it, but Parvati Mata gets angry, right? And she curses him. You become a what? A demon, get a demon. Parvati Mata actually says, you think you're so great, you think you're greater than Lord Shiva. Shiva is who? Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, right? He's the greatest of the Vaishnava. Do you think you're greater than him? You think you can point out his faults, right? You can't do that. So you better take birth as a demon in the next life, and then you live your life, right? So that's why he becomes a demon, and he's called Vritrasur, right? So at the same time, why Vritrasur was born, or how he was born, like Prabhu was saying in the initial beginning of the class, no, he is born from Yajna, right? Or a Yajna. So which Yajna? Anyone knows? Which Yajna Vritrasur was born from? And why was that Yajna performed?
Twasta son killed by Indra. After that, Twasta Muni performed yagna.
Yeah. So Tvashta was the god who got pleased and awarded Chitraketu Maharaj the son, actually. Right? So he is also a demigod, and his son was Vishwaroop. Right? So Indra goes and kills Vishwaroop. Right? So Indra, we all know Indra, no? He is ready to do anything for his position. To safeguard his chair, the king of demigods chair, he is ready to do anything. So he went and killed Vishwaroop. Now, at the same time, you know what happened? Diti, right? Hiranyakashipu's mother. She was feeling very bad because the Lord appeared in the form of Narsimhadev to kill Hiranyakashipu, and Varahadev in the form of Varahadev to kill Hiranyaksha, just to again safeguard Indra's position. No, all the demigods were requesting, here these demons are not allowing demigods to survive, not allowing any kind of devotees to survive, not allowing good people to survive. So what she is thinking, what Diti is thinking, she is thinking, okay, just to safeguard Indra's position, my sons were killed. the Lord killed him. So she goes and asks Kashyapa Muni, I want a son who is able to kill Indra. Right? Then Kashyapa Muni is like, what kind of desire is this? Indra is a devotee of the Lord. He is given a responsibility, right? We can't do that, right? And then she is like, no, I want. Then what Kashyapa Muni says? Kashyapa Muni says, okay, I will give you one Vaishnava ritual. You do that ritualistic ceremony, ritualistic practice. Every day you have to do it with complete devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna. And then if he is pleased, you will get that son. Okay. And then she will be doing it with full focus and attention every day. But one day what happens, her mind will be going here and there. So Indra will take that as an advantage. By then she will be pregnant with that powerful son who can kill Indra, right? So what he will do, he will take that as an advantage and enters the womb of Diti and cuts the child in the womb into some 49 pieces. Can you imagine? Cuts the child. And then he will be, Diti will be very, very angry, very, very upset, right? Because the son, she lost her son, no? The only son who could kill Indra. She lost completely. So all plan is also gone now, right? And then what happens? At the same time, we all know, as Prabhu said, the Tvashta, the demigod, this Indra so fixed onto his chair. He just can't see anyone overtaking. Even in we all saw this in Prithu Maharaj story also, right? Prithu Maharaj was about to perform 100 Ashwamedha yajnas, and Indra took forms in different forms. He came. He was stealing the horse, and somehow he was stopping. He was doing so many disturbances, no, to stop Prithu Maharaj from completing that 100 Ashwamedha yajnas. Why? What happens if you perform 100 Ashwamedha yajnas?
Because he had done 99
Uh,
yagna, and only he didn't want other Prithu Maharaj to complete that 100 yagna.
Why? What happens if you do 100 yajnas?
He will
He
become
must
equal
occupy
to
the
Indra,
throne of the Lord.
greater than Indra.
He can become Indra. Can you imagine? That's the qualification to become Indra. That much of pious deeds you should have in your account to become Indra. So if anyone performs 100 Ashwamedha yajnas according to the ritualistic processes properly in the Vedic way, that person can become Indra. So Indra started to
Indra,
worry. Yeah.
Mata, Indra's position is transferable. So
Yeah, but only
anyone can become.
after death, Indra wants only after his death that position should be given to others. Like right now, also we have Bali Maharaj. After the current Indra dies, the next Indra will become, Bali Maharaj will become the next Indra. So Indra doesn't want anybody to take his position when he's alive, right? Anybody can occupy Indra's post, right? So he's become very anxious now, cautious. If Prithu Maharaj performs 100 Ashwamedha yajnas, then he will become Indra. Then what about me? I will be thrown out, and he will be occupying my chair. So that's why he was stopping. Some or the other way he was trying to stop. No, same thing happened with Vishwaroop also, right? He didn't want anybody to become more pious, or he cannot tolerate if anybody is as powerful or more powerful than Indra. So he somehow finds ways to push him down. Right? So same thing happened with Vishwaroop. He went and killed Vishwaroop. Then Tvashta, he performed a great fire sacrifice, and Diti and everybody are in support of this fire sacrifice now, because even Diti wants Indra to be killed. Right? So all the opposing forces came together. They performed a great fire sacrifice, and then what happened? This demon took birth. Right? You can see in the picture Vritrasur. Right? Such a big demon took birth, and the purpose of his life was to fight Indra, was to in fact kill Indra. Right? That was the purpose of the demon's life, Vritrasur's life. The source of Vritrasur we just learnt, no, Chitraketu Maharaj. So now, when this demon was born, why did he get the name Vritra? Anyone? Any guess? What is the meaning of Vritra? No idea. So Vrit means round, right? So he was so gigantic that he would just cover when you stand and see, right? Whatever is visible to you was completely covered by this demon. He was so huge, and he was in a circular form so that he can cover everything, right? Because of that reason, he got the name Vritrasura, right? Vrit means round or something that covers, right? That's why he got the name Vritrasur, and he was born to kill Indra, right? And then what happens? By then, Indra had lost all his powers. Okay, and he was just struggling, and all demigods were praying to the Lord, and the Lord appeared, and Indra started to offer prayers to the Lord, and the Lord said, "Fine, now you have lost all your powers. You need, and Vritrasur is born. He will be definitely killing you because he's so powerful. He's very, very powerful. So what you should do is, the only way to escape or to kill this demon is you have to go to a particular Muni and make a weapon from his bones. Now, who is this Muni that they go to? Anyone?
Dadichi.
Dadichi, very nice. So Dadichi is a very, very, very powerful, as in very pious, right? And he's very devoted to the Lord, and he's very generous. Whatever anybody asks, he's ready to give, right? And also, not only that, he has something called Narayana Kavach. Narayana Kavach means the Lord's energy, right? The body is completely shielded by Lord's energy. The Kavach that he has is nothing but Lord Krishna's energy, right? And that's why he's called the most powerful king. And because his body is shielded by Narayana Kavach, that body should become the weapon to kill Vritrasur. Vritrasur is so powerful, nothing can kill him. Even Indra's Vajrayut cannot kill him, right? Only this, because of Narayana Kavach, his body should be made into a weapon, and that should be used to kill Vritrasur. So what happens? They all run to the Dichi and request him. They say, Krishna has ordered this should be done. We need your body to take your bones and make a weapon out of it. So what Dadichi does, Dadichi will be like, I am so happy that Krishna is using my body for, his pleasure, and he immediately gives up the body. And then all the demigods, they take the weapons and they make, the bones of his body, and they make a weapon, right? A thunderbolt out of it. And Indra takes the thunderbolt and goes to attack Vritrasur. Okay, and this is a very interesting part, that Vritrasur is a demon, but he's a devotee, right? And the most awesome part, or the special part of it, is that even after being a demon, he still is a devotee. Even in a demoniac body, he's still a devotee. He still chants the holy name of the Lord. He still prays to the Lord. Right? He offers praise to the Lord. He's still a devotee, right? And that makes Vritrasur so great that even devotees, cannot. Even devotees praise Vritrasur. Can you imagine? Right? Even devotees, there's an entire chapter called Glorious Qualities of Vritrasur. Have you ever heard a demon being praised, or have you ever heard a demon offering praise to the Lord, a demon being a devotee in the present demoniac body itself? No, right? So that is why Vritrasur is so special. He's extra special. And when Indra comes to attack Vritrasur, he uses all the weapons he has, all the weapons, and all the other demigods and the supporters of Indra, no, they also give him weapons. They also support him to kill Vritrasur. And when somebody throws a weapon on Vritrasur, the weapon becomes so small when it touches his body. He will be like, oh, this is what you threw at me. He will take it in his 2 fingers and he will throw it down. Can you imagine? That's how huge he is, no? So nobody can kill him. So then Indra gets tired. He tries and tries and tries, and he's about to give up only, because he's like, No way I'm able to kill him. Then Vritrasur tells, you know what he tells Indra? He tells, you know what? People die. Once a soul takes birth, once a soul enters the material body, the soul has to die. Right? Where if there is birth, then there has to be death. Right? So everyone will die one day. Even I will die, even you will die, everyone will die. But the whole point is to make our death glorious. Can you imagine? Right? We all worry about how to make our birth glorious. No achievements and making property for our children and earning so much, winning awards, climbing up the corporate ladder, blah blah blah. So many things we have in our bucket list. No, we have to do that. We have to do this to make our birth glorious. But Vritrasur says we have to make our death glorious, right? And there are two ways to make death glorious, right? What are the two ways? Anyone knows what Vritrasur says?
Devotional service.
Yeah, that is one way. The next way? The next way is to die doing your duty on the battlefield, right? So that's what Vritrasur says. Two ways. One way is to become a devotee and die while offering devotional service to the Lord. That's very, very important. That's why Prabhupada says, Krishna also says, man, always think of the Lord. Because we don't know when we will die, right? So if you die when you're thinking about Krishna, then there is no coming back to the material world. No? Yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramama. We can go back home, back to Godhead. And there's no coming back. But that's one reason, right? You have to either be performing Ashtanga Yoga or devotion service while giving up the life, right? And the second way is to do our duty while dying. You should be doing your duty, as in this case, battlefield. No, giving up when a soul gives up their life, right? When a conditioned soul gives up their life in the battlefield, they will get sadgati, right? As in they will go back home, back to Godhead, because they are doing their duty even till their last breath, right? So now what applies to Indra and Vritrasur, to both of them, is the second one, right? Dying on the battlefield without any regret, right? Without any regret, dying on the battlefield will definitely take them back home, back to Godhead, right? And then Vritrasur is ready to die. You know what Vritrasur says? Vritrasur is like, do not be tired. Please come and kill me. I'm ready to give up my life by offering prayers to the Lord. And Vritrasur says, you have a thunderbolt, which is a very special thunderbolt because it is made of Narayana Kavacha. That means this is Krishna's plan. This is Supreme Personality of Godhead's plan. And why will anything, how can what he say go wrong? Right? It will never go wrong. It will become truth. So my death is already written. Krishna has already written my death through that thunderbolt, and you are supposed to kill me, right? You are my death. My death is I have accepted it because I do not go against Krishna's plan. This is the first quality of a devotee, right? Imagine you are in that place and someone comes and gives you a negative news and says you should do this, although you don't like, you should do it. Will you accept it? Forget about getting killed. Some small thing, if they ask you to do also, we will not do it. We will become so aggressive, right? We'll be like, why I should do this? I don't want to do it. Why I should lose in the game? No, I want to win all the time, right? Why I should do that? Why I should do this? Why I got less marks? Why my project was not approved, etc., etc., right? We get so aggressive, we get upset, we get sad, right? And then we go and ask Krishna also, why you did this, right? But Vritrasur, that's not a devotee's quality. A devotee's quality should accept everything what Krishna gives in the form of Krishna Prasadam, right? That's exactly what Vritrasur did. He's like, my death is already guaranteed. It's written. It's standing right in front of me, and I accept it wholeheartedly because it is Krishna's plan. Because Krishna wants me to die. Because Krishna asked you to do that thunderbolt in that way, I have accepted everything. But still I'm fighting. Why? Because it's my duty. Right? I was born to kill you. And till my last breath, I will be fighting. Right? Because the life purpose of Vritrasur was to kill Indra, no? He was born from that yajna, fire. Right? So he cannot go run away from his duty. His duty was to fight Indra. So he's like, until my last breath, I will be fighting Indra. And then at one point, Indra starts crying. He gets tears in his eyes. He's like, who am I going to kill? Such a great personality I should kill. And then he gives up. He stops. He puts the thunderbolt down and he says, I'm not going to kill. Right? And then Vritrasur says, get up, Indra, get up. I'm waiting for you to come and kill me. Can you imagine? Vritrasur is waiting. And then he starts to, just before gets up, Indra gets up, takes the thunderbolt and goes one final attempt to kill him. Just before that, in the battlefield, when both of them are fighting, he offers 4-verse prayer. Can you imagine? Those 4 verses is what we will be studying from the next class, right? Just 4 verses that I'm sure every verse you read, you will cry. Can you imagine? I did. Every verse I was reading, I started to cry, right? Because they are so touching, right? Oh my God, you should read them. They're so touching and just 4 verses, but it's like lifelong. You don't need to offer any kind of prayer. Just those 4 verses are enough, right? And then after offering prayers to the Lord, he becomes so satisfied. And Indra, when he was about to get up and take the thunderbolt, he again sits down. He's like, he's offering such beautiful prayers to the Lord. How can I kill him? Right? Indra also starts to surrender to Vritrasur. But then Vritrasur is like, no, you have to get up. You have to kill me. Then all the demigods will say, if you don't kill Vritrasur, then Vritrasur will kill you. Right? Then what is the purpose of all this yajna, and Dadichi gave his life for the thunderbolt and everything? What is the purpose of all that? And even Krishna told, Vritrasur should be killed by this thunderbolt. You need to follow the instructions of the Lord. So you have to get up, you have to go, you have to kill him. And then Indra throws the thunderbolt at him, and Vritrasur falls to the ground, gets killed. And when the soul leaves the body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. There's no rebirth for Vritrasur. Can you imagine? So now you understand. Now you tell me, who actually won the war? Who actually won?
Vritrasur.
Mataji, both Indra and Vritrasur won the war.
No, Vritrasur won the war. Why?
He gets a chance to go back to
That's
Godhead.
Krishna. Exactly. What more do you want? Indra won the war and he continues to stay in this material world, ruling, enjoying, doing his responsibilities as a demigod, as a head of the demigods. But what is the guarantee that we will get such glorious death? Many times senior devotees say, when there is ecstatic kirtan going on in the temple during festivals and all, they say, let me just die now. Why can't why can't Krishna take me away in this moment at this time? And everyone is like, why are you talking like that? No, you shouldn't talk like that. Then they say, what is the guarantee that I'll get again this kind of an opportunity? Ecstatic kirtan, temple, surrounded by devotees. What is the guarantee I'll get that opportunity again? Right? And what if I don't die in that particular kind of an environment? Then the whole life becomes a failure. Right? The entire life becomes failure. So all of us think about how to make our life glorious, but the actual point is we have to make our death glorious. Right? So Vritrasur died, but he became the winner eternally because he got Krishna's lotus feet. Right? So this is, and his prayers teach us a lot. Right? So from next class, we will learn about that. So 1 verse per class and we will finish it. So yeah, any question?
Mataji,
Yeah.
yes, Mataji, 2-3 questions are there. One is that if you die during your duty, so that means Kshatriyas only will be getting the advantage of this. Those who are fighting in the war,
It could be
so
anything.
once they die there, they will get the benefit. Whereas others, Vaishyas and Sudras and Brahmins will not be able to.
No. Duty applies to everything. No, Kshatriya's duty is to fight. Brahmin's duty will be to propagate the Vedic knowledge and everything. And a Vaishya's duty is to do his own occupation. No, the what is that? business and go seva, agriculture and everything. Shudra's duty is to help these three higher classes. Right, so it could be anything, but when you do your occupation, I mean, when we give up our life while performing our occupational duty, it is said we will get sadgati. Right, that is one thing, but mostly in the scriptures, if you see, like you said, it's applied to war and things like that in the battlefield and everything. Yes, Prabhu, next.
Next is you said about 49 breaking into 49 pieces. Those 49 are again the same as 49 Maruts.
I think I didn't read that part yet. Anybody knows about those
Because
49 pieces?
I have read somewhere that these 49 Maruts are there, but
Maybe.
whether it is linked to this one or it is something else.
Yeah, even I don't know. I haven't read that part yet. I'll find it out and I'll tell you if anyone knows here what happens to those 49 pieces.
Hare Krishna Mataji, they become Maruts Mataji.
Yeah.
They be in the demigods place Mataji, as demigods along with Indra Mataji.
Oh, Haribol, yeah. So they all, I heard that they will become Vaishnavas. So yeah, they have that.
Yeah, yes, Mataji, because this I have heard from another class, Mataji. Actually, she is doing devotional service, no, Mataji. So her embryo will also be a devotee, Mataji. Now, what happens is she would be instructed by her husband that she have to wash her feet before going to sleep. But that day, she wouldn't wash her feet without some, like maybe she was thinking something. After doing the devotional service, without washing her feet, she will go for sleeping. That time only Indra enters her womb. Since one small mistake happened from her side, Indra will enter her womb and he will start passing the arrow. But that embryo will be cut into 7 pieces. Then again he will try to short the arrow. This 7 will again become 7. So totally 7 into 7, 49 pieces will be happening. Now again, all these 49 pieces will have life. Each and every 49 of the pieces will have life. So he will not understand what is happening. So he will come out of the womb and he will understand that something is happening because of Lord's mercy to Diti. So he will come out. Then after some days, she will be delivering 49 children. Then she will start calling Indra, saying that, "Oh, my son, these are your brothers," like that. So actually, her aim was to beget a son to kill Indra. But since she did her devotional service properly, sincerely, her heart would have cleansed, and she would also turn into a devotee, and she will become very humble. She will forget what was her aim actually, and she will call Indra as her son. And she will say, "These are your brothers," and he will accept them as Maruts along with him in Indralok. Like that, I have heard from one class, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Haribol, thank you, Mataji. Yeah, so these 49 pieces, I heard that they will all become Vaishnavas. So yeah, as Mataji said, they will become Indra's associates. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Mataji, one more thing. Their list which was circulated. So it says that from 23 verse to 27 is the prayers by Vritrasura.
Yes, Prabhu.
23 also is included in that.
24, no? 24th say it starts. Aham Pada Ekamula. That's where it starts. It's very easy also.
Okay.
I would request all of you to memorize the prayers.
Okay, ma'am. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hmm. Hmm. 24. 11th shloka,
Okay.
11th chapter, 24, 24, 25, 26, 27. Four verses.
Okay, ma'am. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, then any other questions or anything to add? Nothing? Okay, let's end then. Thank you all for joining. We'll again continue from the next class. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। थैंक यू ऑल। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.